Hello, hello. It is your host, Samurai Kit Kat. And I'm going to be a little probably monotonal today. And the reason being is my right shoulder is absolutely killing me today. I guess I slept on it wrong. It is what it is. So we're just going to hop right into it. Obviously, the last time we were doing things, I essentially attempted without much guide or anything like that, of just kind of putting forward everything that I've been learning about redrawing this Ambi, of course, only a couple of times, right? I only have done this a couple of times. And, this is what I ended up with so far, right? As far as like a base model is concerned. Um, I think that's pretty damn good, in my personal opinion. Is it perfect? I guess no. But at the same point in time, as we had learned last time, some things with this are not perfect either. So it is what it is. So, first and foremost, let's go ahead and get some disclaimers out there. First is we are going to be presenting some music today, and of course, it's going to be done by none other than Carl Casey. And you can follow Carl Casey on YouTube through White Bat Audio, and of course, support him with his music on bandcamp.com. And, pay what you want for his music, his albums, stuff like that. You can use his music royalty free, which means you can use it on Twitch and YouTube as far as for creative purposes. And there you go. Last, of course, is Ambi here from Hoyo versus Zenless Zone Zero. We are utilizing Ambi as far as this is concerned for educational purposes. So under Creative Commons, we're not redistributing the artwork. We are not selling the artwork for any reasons. We're not claiming that it is ours, because it isn't. It's someone else's IP. But as this series has shown, we are clearly using this for educational purposes, and we'll continue to do so. So this is what I've gotten with two actual redraws of Ambi, and we really haven't drawn Ambi 100%. We've always just done an overlay of line work. I mean, just as to prove the point here, if we open up everything that we've done, like this right here, we've never gotten to the stage of actually getting the pen tool out and doing a final line art like this, right? We've never gotten to that point yet. And so that being said, getting to this, right, which is my full attempt on my own merits, I think is pretty damn good. Now, granted, you could say, well, yes, you already have some art knowledge, so this of course helps you in my design work. This is true. However, I'm still not quite there yet as far as the clothing is concerned. So what are we going to do about this? Well, we're going to just go ahead and hurry up through. I'm not going to stop with the proportions thing like I did last time, because that's what sprung this about. I really want to focus on the clothing, so we're just going to go ahead, get the music started, and get going. All right. So first thing, we're just going to create a new layer. Drop the original art piece to 20%. Ooh, that was a good click. That was a good click, baby, yeah. And we're just going to go ahead and map out everything. Let's go ahead and get it mapped out. Ooh, that's a little light there. Oh, it's because I'm on that. Fun times. There we go. That's one thing I got to keep in mind is this angle here. This angle is very, very obtuse. I have a tendency, if we look back here, to do sharper angles. So I need to remind myself to just kind of go out wide a little bit. So that is what it is. Again, and as you know, we're always continuing to go on under the assumption that this is the base that they would have used, right? I have no proof of this. There is no proof of this out there. There is no Hoyo artist that I know of has actually provided a base to the artwork that they do. So there is no actual way of me knowing if what I'm actually doing is what the Hoyo artist had done as well, right? There's just no, and there never will be. There will never, unless an Hoyo artist ever watches this, or whatever the case may be. There's never going to be a point in time where we are actually going to know how these artists do their bases on their characters. Another thing that I'm really learning too is to be generous with the girth and thickness of my characters. And, you know, that's something here. Like, I tend to make my characters a little skinnier than probably what they should be. But, you know, that's just how it be, man. Just how it be. I think I did that right. So I just need to keep a mental image in my head of, like, okay, if I want to make this, then I just need to make it thicker. Thicker! Alright, so if I take her hip, went the wrong way on that one. There we go. That's not right, because her armpit is right there. So, right there. All right. So that was pretty much quick of the base model. This is essentially pretty much similar in every way, shape, and form to every single time we have done this. Maybe some variants here and there, but for the most part, you know, this is that base model that we've always been looking at. Minor alterations here and there, if any. So, you know, there you go. So let's make a new layer, and we're gonna get her hair done. Well, no, we're gonna do her facial features, my bad. I usually start with facial features first because obviously that's just the smart thing to do. You need to be able to do your face first and then work on hair. But regardless of that, so long as you do your hair and your facial features on separate layers, do whatever you want first. It don't matter. It don't matter. Whatever you want to do first. It's hard to tell, like, exactly, how far her eyeball actually goes. And this one is a little easier too, but because her hair goes over top of her eyeball, you just have to take a wild guess. So my shoulder hurts today, so I can't actually like manipulate my arm like I want to. Let's go this way. I do like really learning that the eyes are angled in such a way. But that's pretty cool to me. I never thought about angling the actual iris of an eyeball. So this is something I definitely have learned fundamentally with anime eyes now, at least with Hoyoverse, is to angle these eyes, because I used to. Right, I used to do this. And I think that's a fine eyeball, right? It's not like the worst eyeball in the world. But in the grand scheme of things, though, if we draw that similar eye, but then we just angle it. And you definitely get a different vibe, right? Like these two eyeballs here. Definitely give like a little bit of a different vibe. Ambi definitely has more of a serious tone, and so this to me is a more serious eyeball, where this one seems to be like more energetic, more lively, more calm. Like, yeah, I think angles play a huge part into what kind of seriousness that the character has. And this is stuff I've never thought about or considered until I started doing this, right? So even if there's nothing else that I've taken away from doing this, at least I have learned that eyeball wise, I need to make my irises more angled. Of course, she doesn't have an eyebrow here, so, but feeling how close I am to this line here, and it is in line with this, so therefore the other eyebrow should be right about there. A little skinnier. There you go. Yeah, so eyebrows will be in line with the end of the eye, so her other eyebrow should be in this location here, but we're not going to draw that. We just need to be mindful, right? Just be mindful. If you have an eyebrow, it should be in line with the corner of your eye. Your nose is right about here. Right. So that should do it for facial features. Obviously, her nose isn't really that big at all. It's just, you know, I'm just trying to put something there to remind me that her nose is going to be in that area. All right. New layer. Let's work on hair. I'm trying to think of probably just using a different color. Let's use orange. I liked using orange last time. Now, here's something neat. Let's just say you do want different colors for all of your stages and all of your different layers. So we're on the eyeball layer right here, right? So I'm blinking it on and off to let you know. Go to Edit, Tonal Correction, Hue, Saturation, Luminosity. Let me do that one more time for you. Edit, Tonal Correction, Hue, Saturation, Luminosity. Click that. Take the Hue bar at the top and just start dragging it along the bar to find a color that you like. I suggest something that looks clear. Darker colors will look really nice at this point in time. Let's do, and then we can do saturation, which, you know, basically lightens the color up itself, or luminosity, which will brighten it up. So let's do like a bright purple. There we go. That works. Just to give some differentiation with our drafting lines. So these are draft lines. I encourage using different colors for your draft lines. We did this again. I think it was Ambi's lesson number 2. Yes, Ambi lesson number 2. We used different colored draft lines. Granted, I should have done something different with the facial features, right? But I did it all at once. See, I did the hair and the eyes at once. That actually right there is a no-no. Don't do that, because if you need to alter something with your eyeballs or your hair, you're going to regret it, because if I change anything, like if I want to erase this, right, like, oh, I just want to erase a little bit of this hair, this little bit of this hair, well, look what I just did. I just erased the eyeball too. It's so hard to do too. Obviously I did it here, whether I intended to do it or not. Regardless of that fact, do not put the same stuff on the same layer. Keep a category. So like I said, the facial stuff, that's its own category. Leave it alone. Don't touch it. Move on to the next section. Create another layer. Now we're on her hair. And as we know, the hair always is lifted off of the actual skull itself. This is why you'll never see me take this blue line here, right? And go up this way, or, I mean, she does not have a skull that big. Alright, she's not an alien, okay? Even though anime characters generally do have a fairly large skull, right? This is a pretty big sized dome. But that is just the aesthetic of a anime figure base. They will have a fairly large cranium, but nothing, not the size of the hair. Hair comes off of the skull, okay? And as with bangs, because we're starting with the bangs, as you see here, we have a bang point of existence, and it's essentially has its own perspective line. I can't train more of this because obviously we're working on Ambi. So Ambi's specific point of reference is this angle here, and her Banes use this, on this particular art piece, use this perspective. And so as you see here, as we create lines like this, right, that curve through, we can already see, well, this angle pretty much matches this. Well, this right here matches that, and so on and so forth. So we know that that point of reference is there. We do have a few strands of hair that do not follow this principle, right? Like this one right here does not follow the principle. It goes off underneath. And so what really this hair is doing is attaching itself to the actual scalp here. So she has a hairline. Everybody has a hairline, right? If you pull your hair back and put it into a ponytail, well, there's your hairline. But at this point in time, of course, Ambi's hairline, if we follow this, is probably right about here. That's probably Ambi's hairline right there. So the fact that this hair goes right there is fine. It's okay. That's all right. That makes sense. It's just let me explain this maybe a little bit more. So when you create a hairline on a character, right, usually you're going to have a lot of forehead on an anime character. So your hairline should go up pretty far. And then as far as that goes, you don't have much else, and your ear would be approximately right there. Let's draw a little something better here. And then if she was like shaved, right, it'd be something like that. And so essentially, if you wanted to have what's that traditional art anime style, so if you wanted to have bangs coming off of the actual like hairline itself, you'd do something similar to this. And then you'd have these like little etch lines, right? And essentially that is the hair follicles going off there. So that is a hairline Banes. I just taught you something new today. That is what is called anime hairline Banes. This is a very popular thing to do. Like Yu-Gi-Oh does this. Yu-Gi-Oh is the biggest example. If you want to know how to do hairline bangs, just look at Yu-Gi-Oh, and there you go. You have hairline bangs. We just completely changed the aesthetic of Ambi. I'm telling you, hair, like I said, I'm telling you guys, just get a good base model. Let's take this back, right? Just get a good base model. Like, this isn't Ambi anymore. This is just some chick look-alike kind of deal. Like, we could make this girl into anything we want with just the simple change of hair. Hair in itself, I mean, hell, let's go fucking Super Saiyan, right? Let's do some Super Saiyan stuff. Let's just we can absolutely just do whatever, right? And this is no longer Ambi. This is somebody else. Anime plays these tricks on you. Anime will draw. You will be surprised how many eyes. Pay attention to this, right? How many eyes look exactly like this in anime? And then all that changes is the hair. And you have a completely new character. The secrets of anime. Absolute secret unlocked. If you did not know this before, now you do. There are so many base models, because think about it real quick. Just have some critical thought process. There is never a point in time where anime artists are going to spend a ton of time creating brand new models, brand new eyeballs, brand new this, brand new that. About the only thing that they're willing to create is a brand new character if it really does recall for it. Like, One Piece, I think, is a pretty good example of just wild character designs, but even then, they follow a formula. They got a formula. But for a lot of animes, including Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, and of course Zenless Zone Zero, this is pretty much on every single character. All you're seeing is a different clothing change and hair change. You know, the artist like stops and like really thins out that line there. Particularly for what reason, I'm not sure. That just is what it is. Nice, easy, straight line. Goes right on top of that eyeball. But as far as like anime characters like this, though, that the bangs are actually up off of the hairline, right? Definitely find your point of reference. Make that little circle like I'm making right here. Anywhere, it doesn't matter. Like I said, here, there, here. It doesn't matter where you pick it. Just pick something so that way you have a form of reference to do this. To make your bangs that come off of the hairline. Now, technically, there should be a line that goes out a little bit from this, because we have this one here. This is still this hair follicle here. Well, it's not really a follicle, it's a group. This follows the curve line of the bangs of this up here, this perspective. So this line right here, obviously, that I drew, did not exist, but it should be there. So either they did it and erased it, or I couldn't tell you. Either way, though, that line up there should be there, and this hair group most certainly is part of this bangs. This right here. All right, so now we got a combination hair. So let's do another layer and pick another color. We'll go with like a little bit more red. And so anime hair technically has like 3 stages. So 1, 2, 3. Let's do the orange because this will be the front bangs. Do red, right, and then we'll do like pink for the third. Ambi seems to have she's got 3 as well. It's just this section here. Oops. Well, yeah. This section here is number 2, and back here is number 3. Along with, oops, son of a bit. Along with this being number 3 as well. Number 3 is the most rearmost hair. So let me explain this better by just drawing out or mapping out a very basic hairline for you all. Okay. All right. We're not doing anything fancy-dancy here. So, first one, like I said, it's pick a spot off of the skull and have your perspective, how you want this to go. Okay. And then, All right, something like that. Again, we're just kind of doing basics right real quick here. Trying to learn you something. So that is your front facing hair, right? All right, so number 2, which is red. Let me erase this shit real quick here. And then we're going to move this over a little bit. There we go. Number 2 is going to be things like, you know, your sideburns or like your main hair style. So like they're going to be lifted off from your normal, the bangs area that you picked. So you'd have something, let's do something real basic. Right. Looks funky, but that's fine. It's all just examples. And usually it will come full circle over the top. Right, so this is like the highest point of the hair on the character, so that's number 2. So that's number 2. This is number 1. And then lastly, you have your rearmost hair, which could be really anything. So you could go and have like a pigtail or something like that, right? On either side. So you have pigtails, or you just simply have just your longest hair is in the back, right? So you could have like really, you know, the long length of hair in the back there, the pigtails. You could also have maybe a ponytail or something like that, right? But that is essentially the let's see here, let's do something a little bit more symmetrical. Yeah. There you go. So, but that's the example. Anime hair can have up to 3 layers. Most of the time it is 3. And you'll want to section these off just like I did and have 3 separate layers for the hair. And the reason being is because, again, it's just comes down to the simplicity. What if you don't like the ponytail? What if you don't like how this looks? Well, look what I'm doing. I'm erasing the ponytail, but oh, I erased some of my other hair that I don't want to erase because I just got this layer perfect. Or, oh, I want this gone. Now let's erase that. Oh, well, I've erased the front hair too. You're just creating more work for yourself. So, like, if you really like your bangs on your character, then they should be on a separate layer. And then if you're mid hair, so layer number 2, if that looks really good for you, then you should keep that. And then sometimes, you know, the 3rd hair layer, let's just give the best example, right? Let's undo all this shit. The best example is your mid hair may be just simply just a shortcut in the back, or kind of like an extension of this hair here, right? But we know that this is in the background, like this is behind number 2. But you still want this on a separate layer because then I can adjust it. Maybe I want to do a little something else or whatever. It is best to work with anime hair in layers. So there's your lesson on anime hair. Oh boy. I was saying I was going to be quick with this, right? But I don't know. I just feel like I keep running into important things to talk about. Okay. Yes. Let's use that. I kind of like that pink. That's fine. We'll use pink for Ambi's second layer. And then a separate layer for the back of her hair. And as far as without the Ambi in the back there, this is essentially what it would look like. So as you can see, like the back of her hair, there isn't a whole lot, right? It's very little, but we know from the artist here, if we boost up this opacity, the back hair is flashed. And I've talked about flashing before, but this color here does not match any of the other colors throughout the rest of her hair. So we know that this is the backmost layer of hair. And then number 2, of course, is the main hairstyle. That's like just the encompassing of everything. So that's what makes up most of Ambi's hair. And then her bangs, of course, in the very most front area. But yes, that would be Ambi's hair. A show for show. The show. All right. We are going to use one color for her clothes. Reason being is because her clothes are layered, and I've already colored her hair like this, and so I really don't want to have even more colors involved with Ambi and just have a freaking rainbow of craziness going on. It's going to be very distracting. Hair, I allow it like this because there are 3 sections to hair, but most of the time I'm not going to do this myself, because as an artist and as the person who's creating the character, I know where my sections are. It's common sense. I mean, I'm creating the damn thing. I know where the sections are. But if I'm trying to copy something, I don't know where the sections are. Maybe I don't, maybe I do. But noticing these things, like I know that you know, this is the point here, and then this is the bang. So I know that this is a section there. I know that The pink area is the second section because that's the main hair. And I know that the purple is the back section over here because of how it's colored. So it's for me, it's easy to tell, but this is why I did this, because for other people who are coming in and learning too, they may not know the subtleties of layered anime hair. Now you know. At least I hope now you know. So create a whole new layer, and then we're just gonna go to town and get this jacket done. I don't know if I want to do the thing like this, right? This is pretty much what we're trying to accomplish. Is a multi-layered article of clothing, and we kind of seen how this was already done, right? So I'm going to skip these steps because you can just watch the video on YouTube where I do this, okay? And I'm just going to go ahead and just trace the jacket and get this done. Now this part right here that I'm drawing right now is not part of the jacket. That's actually the tip of her hair, because apparently she has some sort of hair thing there, but needless to say, actually tone the first layer down a little bit. There we go. See a little better. About 50%. And all we care about at this point in time is just the general shapes. Obviously her sword kind of takes up some of this area here, but it should follow down this way. Alright, I'll be right back, taking a restroom break, and for those of you watching on YouTube, just skip ahead until I start drawing again. Alright, I'm back. I'll probably edit that on do an actual video edit. I know most of the time I don't edit my videos because I'm just kind of active anyways. But needless to say, we're just gonna keep on keeping on. And then another thing with all this too is, you know, obviously and quite clearly I am, you know, tracing this art, right? And you could say, well, what value are you getting out of doing this? Why, you know, tracing all this instead of looking at the artwork and then trying to, you know, match what you're seeing, right? Which is called site value art. You know, like basically what I'm trying to get at is, so I look at Ambi's chest and I'm like, okay, well, we got this angle here and it seems to come up like this, and then it comes down like that and does one of these numbers here, and then looks like there's a loop that does one of these and then goes over and then comes back up and around, and you know, whatever, right? Well, we can see here that this is completely wrong. You're not going to understand by just doing site art, right? That's what site art is. There's no direction. There's no ifs, ands, or buts to it. There's no precision involved. All that's involved is just making something that kind of looks like what you're seeing, and it'll never be what it actually needs to be. What tracing allows, and furthermore, when we put things into perspectives, right, we now have a reference and guide to help us out. And really, I don't care about proportions and things like that when it comes to these clothing items, because clothing clearly has a mind of its own in anime and Zenless Zone Zero. What I'm more concerned about, like what we learned here, is how was it constructed? What was the possibility? Like, how was this actually made? And so we broke it down. We made the whole jacket first. Then we added the we added the 2 straps that go across the chest area, and then we added the actual hoodie part plus the main strap with these 5 holes in it. That's the green, the green part that we see here. We added that last. So I'm learning that in the reality of things, if I want to create Hoyoverse clothing, I need to have layered clothing. Again, perspective wise, could give 2 shits less. Using site art does nothing for me. I want to deconstruct her clothes so that way I can figure out, okay, how did the artist actually do this? Now, like I said, and I had already just disclaimed, right? I am hurrying through the jacket just so that way we can get it done, because we've already done this. We don't need to go through it again. And by tracing, I'm also learning about the nuances of things like this trim line that I'm doing right now. I'm learning that, okay, I need to add some thickness to these trim lines. I need to add these details into this clothing in order for it to feel like a Hoyoverse character. Like, how am I going to make this Hoyoverse character? Well, I know I need to draw this line for the jacket, but they also made this zipper system, so I need to make sure with my clothing that I might add a zipper system like this. Tracing not only helps you with memorization on how you're drawing your lines, and of course, the more and more you draw something over and over again, as example, the more and more you're going to be able to have the ability to just to understand what you're trying to achieve a lot better. Now, some of this might be a little bit simpler in terms of when I'm talking about it for those that are a little bit more art inclined or pay attention to art or just do art in general, right? Like this is like a, oh, well, no fucking duh, dude. Duh, that's what you do. But a lot of people are not art inclined or have a natural affinity for the arts, but they want to be, right? And it's nice to have a proper trainer or idea of how these things work and all that, all the above, right? All the above. And so tracing out what you really want to accomplish is going to help you. But as we learned back in this one, again, watch the YouTube video because it's going to help you, is deconstructing these clothes. And we're going to, of course, continue to deconstruct clothes. I'm not done yet. Like, this is just the jacket part. So if you're frustrated that I'm not deconstructing this jacket, it has been done on another video. So please do watch that one because it will help you understand. And of course, this video will too. Absolutely, this video will too. But we're just hurrying along with this jacket because, again, we have already done this. Now, granted, I don't know where her jacket ends, but should end right about there. Should, because the arm is right in that pocket, and this would continue on the back like that, but we don't need to draw that. Alright, cool. Now we're in for some deconstruction. So we got the jacket, right? There it is. Now, granted, we can add the details on here for if we really want to. We can do this. Get this knocked out because I'm sure someone will be like, what about that? Usually these things here are afterthoughts. An artist really isn't going to know that this is going to exist until they start looking at their design. Like, I do this all the time, right? Where I zoom out, I look at my art, and I'm like, what can I add to this to make it more spunky, right? And, you know, the artist chose a wonderful thing to do, which is this, but they had plenty of space to work with, right? There's a lot of real estate here to add some design. And so that's what they did. They added a nice little design there. They could have added a design on this, right? They could have made some like racing stripes or some shit like that. Could have done some stripe work like this. They could have added another stripe over here and then made like a pinstripe stripe and then all that, and this could have been colored in. And there is a myriad of things. When you have a blank canvas of clothing, you can do all sorts of stuff. So, but what I'm basically getting at though, this right here that I'm circling is after the clothes have already been put on the character, and that would be on a separate layer too, but granted, we're just kind of getting through it. All right, make a new layer, and now we're going to take and deconstruct this arm. So clearly, looking at both arms, the green layer is on top of or incorporated because it's actually flush with the sleeve. So basically what the artist is telling me is that there is no differentiation between the green and the black. It is together. If there was a differentiation, let's go ahead and boost up the opacity just a little bit. If there was a differentiation between the green between the green and the black, then we would see something kind of like this. So this is what we have now, right? That's what we have now. This little bump right there would be what I need to see. This is what I would need to see right here. If there is supposed to be a layer on top of the sleeves. So this is if that wasn't enough information for you, this is the difference. So here's the sleeve. Oops, shit. Okay, here's the sleeve. And then let's just decide. There's the green section. That's what the artist did. Versus, that's the sleeve. And then there's the green section. Yeah, we created a whole new layer on top. And we created this whole new thing. And if we erase this layer right here, we'll see that there is... What's there, ladies and gentlemen? What's there? There's a little bit of a bump right there. That bump tells me that they drew that green layer over top of the original sleeve. Now, I'm all about this bump. I'm all about the bump, ladies. All about the bump. And the reason being is because that shows more depth. That shows more detail. That shows that the artist is layering their clothing, right? They're doing a lot of design work. But since this isn't happening here and we have just a straight line, that means that this artist chose to not do that and just simply, this whole sleeve is just one big unit. Which makes things a lot simpler too, right? That makes the things a lot easier on me. So instead of having to do one of these or do a... So okay. All right, I'm getting in the zone. I'm getting in the zone. Right here, right? We see this. This is the sleeve, right? This is the start of the sleeve. This is why I believe this thing should be layered. And why when I'm noticing these things, I'm like, why did they not layer it? So we got this arm sleeve. I'm going to ask you this question before I continue forward. I'm going to get you to critically think today. Based on this line, how would you think to draw this sleeve? So if you know that the sleeve starts here, how would you draw the rest of the sleeve? Okay. You got your answers. Okay. This is how I would draw it. All right. So, you see how I just drew it. Now, the reason why I drew it this way is because, well, if we go back to our base model, right? So this is the full opacity of the base model. Let's go back a few steps and we'll redraw this, okay? And then we're going to take ambi out of it. So this may be a lot easier. And then we're going to use another color too. Just use a dark blue. Yeah, that'll work. Yeah, there we go. So, first and foremost, I want that line again. So there's the line. Okay. Now, her arm is right here, right? So, technically, that line should go a little further. See here, right about there. Right about there is that line. And then if we look at her sleeve again, so her sleeve starts skin tight, and then I would say flares out. So let's do skin tight, go down a little bit, and then flare it out. Skin tight just for a little bit, and then flare it out. I want to match this up a little bit better. Okay. Yeah, that'll work. And then there should be like a cuff right here, of which we kind of see that, but it's actually this right here. I'm obviously not using the real ambi, right, at this point in time. I'm just trying to give you the difference between drawing on layers and drawing just to draw the whole thing, right? So this is how I would have actually drawn her first sleeve. Because if this line exists, which it does, it exists, it's right freaking here, it's staring right at you. So since that line exists, I assumed that this sleeve will be by itself. And then the artist would have done another layer. And let's do like a green, right? Yeah, let's do green. And let's take a brief look at ambi's cool green spot here. And then the artist would have done something like this. And granted, there's some things that you do not see. So let's say there's actually a strap system in place here, because this is like an armor piece, right? What do you do with armor? You put it on top of something. And so there should have been no reason why this shouldn't have been an armor piece. It acts like it's an armor piece, right? It acts like an armor piece. So why do we not have the bumps that I really love and enjoy? I think that would have added a lot more depth to the sleeve. We could have still had the strap system here, right? And then it still would have made sense. But needless to say, though, and then when you're done, right, you go back to the blue and you start erasing the blue, where, of course, you're not going to see it. Erase the green where you wouldn't see it. And for me, that looks like a really dynamic, really well detailed and layered and thought out sleeve. That's how I would do it, right? That's just me. So it's very interesting to see something that wants to be this, right? It wants to be this, but it's not. And then, of course, going back to the original. Let's see where we got. So that's layer 6. Okay. A new layer. So it's very curious to me why we have clearly a sleeve right here, or some sort of material that's hugging Anby's arm, and then instead of drawing separate pieces, the artist made this all one big piece. Because again, we have depth, right? We have like a whole interior here. So this part of the clothing lifts off of the arm. And so because I don't know what this is that a separate piece of clothing? Is that like an arm strap or something like that? And then this sleeve is actually completely something else? The world may never know. But I'm just taking from my own brain here and just simply saying, well, this should be the black sleeve that we see here, and then this is over top of it. But that is not the case, so that's how we're gonna have to treat this. So this has to be something separate from the sleeve itself. So, in saying that, we're just gonna have to draw the sleeve. In one whole piece. Now, I'm not going to worry about where this line potentially could go. It's probably going to be like that, right? In the reality of things, that's how it should look. But since we're behind the jacket or the jacket's in front of the sleeve, then I'm not going to worry about it right now. But as you noticed, I actually went through the bolts and stuff. Why? Well, because the bolts are extra. They are something different. And I'm going to look at it a little bit more to make sure that I believe that I'm doing the right line. The bolts are on a different layer, 100%. Bolts are most certainly on a different layer. Oops. And then again, the green is on the same layer as the black sleeve, so we're just going to simply just follow along. Now you could say, all right, well, what about this this wrist plate area? You know, so clearly the artist stopped the sleeve right there and then was able to achieve, you know, these, like, I don't know what you want to call them, like binders. These wrist guards, wrist plate belt things, right? Those would not have been. Now I'm trying to think of like construction, right? Like when did these get drawn? Were these drawn before the sleeve, after the sleeve, or with the sleeve? That is of course another unanswerable question. If I'm thinking about how I would have constructed it, I'm thinking. I'm thinking, how would I, when would I have drawn this? I probably would have drawn it. I'm either leaning towards with the sleeve, because this all matches up and stuff like that. Like this ripple here, right? This whole like this fold of the clothing, that's intentional, and it's because the artist knows that it needs to be that way. How do you know it needs to be that way? Well, because of these right here. And so when they were designing the clothing, they probably went down to the wrist like they did and made these binders, and then possibly developed the sleeve and was like, okay, well, let's make a ridge there and a ridge here, because that's it being tucked into those cuffs. Because if these were after the sleeve, right, then the sleeve would have been more like this. Before they're like, oh, you know what? I think some binders would be cool. And they're like, okay, well, let's put some ridges on here to make it look like folds. That would be an after the sleeve. I don't think they did that. I think they incorporated those. They had a complete idea of what they were going to do on those binders. And so they created it with the sleeve. And so I'm not going to differentiate or create a new layer for these binders, because that's what I believe. I could be completely wrong. And they wouldn't be beforehand, per se. And the reason why I don't believe that they're beforehand is because if you drew these binders, right, and then you drew your sleeve, yes, you could do this, but to me, that's a very far stretch of clothing design, that you're going to put binders on ambi first before you do this immaculate sleeve right here. I don't think that, no, that doesn't make sense to me. So we're going to assume completely 100% that they intended to draw these binders with the sleeve, with the construction of the sleeve right from the rip. Okay. Now we're going to go to another layer. Pick, let's do... That'll work. And so now, the next phase would have been, I think, the bolts and this strap would probably have been at the same time. They're both on top of the sleeve, and they're not over top of each other. So they do not interact with each other. So therefore, they could be put on the same layer. Let's see here. So constructing these bolts. Now, I know that these are hand-drawn because the lines are not straight. And of course, it is only a matter of who the hell knows what part of this they started. Now, granted, for me, I'm going to actually construct... Now, this one I think would be probably right because they start with a base. They're like, okay, I want my bolt here. And then they drew the bolt off top of it. This one, I may have done something like this. I'm like, I want a bolt there. And then I'm going to put this right here. And then I want a lip for my bolt. I'm gonna do that there. And then I'm gonna do a funky little design. Now this design right here, this black circle, could have very well been the same kind of concept as this over here, an afterthought. Very well could have been. And so I'm gonna treat it like that too. And then just a curvature of a bolt in the back there. All right. I mean, that's pretty much ambi sleeve. Like, there isn't a whole lot of crazy difference here. Now, granted, we do have this right there. That would have been probably done. This right here seems like an afterthought spot with that line right there differentiating the black tip, but it could have been thought about at some point in time, but we'll add it to this layer. Yeah. And then, of course, as you would do, once you were satisfied, right, then you would go back through on your blue line, and you start erasing that blue line where it goes through the objects that you do not wish that are going to be on top of your sleeve. Right, so it should look like that. Pretty simple shapes. I mean, there's nothing like extravagant about this sleeve, except for, like, I would say this right here up top, that tag, or I don't know what you want to call it, but that right there is probably the most fancy part about this. To save for space, I am just going to go ahead, but just acknowledge that this black circle line is an afterthought. That is a design thing. That is a, what can I add to this to add flair? This, what can I add to this to add flair? This, what can I add to this to add flair? This little orange circle thing, I don't know if that's a flash spot, you know. I see some of this orange throughout ambi, so I'm going to assume that's a design as well. But again, this would have been an afterthought. That's an afterthought. This large black line, which, you know, we can increase the size of our pencil. Right, there you go. It's a little big. Go down to like a 10. There we go. Right down to a 3. So, now, if we take this off, so essentially we have a completed sleeve of ambi. There you go. Again, fairly simple construction. Like, it's pretty effective as it is. And I like that, learning that it is a pretty simple shape, but achieves a lot. I mean, obviously, it achieves a lot. That's pretty cool. Alright, let's go back to our blue. And we're going to do the next sleeve. Now, as far as this is concerned, both of these sleeves do not interact with each other. So we can go back down to layer 7. Alright, so layer 7 is our blue sleeve on the left hand. And we can go ahead and do this sleeve on this side. Probably during construction, I would say they went like this. Because again, we deal with simple shapes, right? They wouldn't have known exactly where this sleeve would have ended up because they don't have that reference yet. So this this right here, this line would have continued until it hit that right there. Likewise, you know, the sleeve is pretty big, and so I would imagine that they probably did something like that. Something very similar to this. And then as far as this is concerned, this is essentially just a big, I don't know what the word precisely is, but an angled sleeve, an angled shape. Okay. And then they probably would have went ahead and erased this. There's not enough going on to where I would have like, oh, let's make a separate layer for this. And they would have already known where the, of course, the wrist and hand and stuff like that is, so they could just be like, okay, let's go ahead and get this these binders taken care of. Again, not a whole lot of information, so erasing these lines would have been no problem, in my personal opinion. So again, still nothing that says let's make a whole ass new layer. Strange. But it's okay. Yeah. Wrinkles, now as far as wrinkles are concerned, right, there's no wrinkles on this except for what we've seen down here on this one, and that's very simple. The wrinkle here, I believe, would have been created at the time of the sleeve, along with this small crease right there. I think that's fine. Usually I do it too. I will make my wrinkles and stuff with my clothing right then and there, because that's just how you map clothes. And so any hard wrinkles that we see like this, I would go ahead and just do it on the same layer. No problem. No problemo. And of course, you know, we wouldn't have had a sword at the time, so technically this line would have probably, let's see here, if we went underneath the wrist. Something like that. Yeah. And of course we do have to erase this. There we go. And we got this line to erase. Yeah. And this line to erase. Yeah. There we go. So yeah, there's that. And then now we're going to get our pretty pink back out. Yeah, pretty bit of pink. go back to layer 8 because we don't need to make a separate layer, like I said. So we just got pretty pink. Clearly this orange here is actually supposed to be a section. And so it's interesting that this part is black on this one and an orange over here. I can't tell you why that is. that is on the artist on that one. Oh, there was a wrinkle I missed. I missed a wrinkle. Oh no. Is this right here? There we go. All right. There we go. Oops. Didn't draw that quite. Also, I have to assume that, you know, this sword is, of course, on top of most of everything. And so I can't really stop, even though I'm tracing, right? I can't stop these lines. I can't just stop this line right at the sword just like that, right? That's not how it would have been drawn. It would have continued through. So always continue that line all the way through until you stop at the layer that you're working on, the sleeve that you're working on, and the shirt that you're working on, and the shoes and whatever else, right? All of this stuff is erased later. This stuff doesn't just stop at these objects. None of these lines that I'm making, I don't stop, right? Like I made all this right here. I know that the sword is I'm going to have to erase these for the sword, right? Because the sword is on top of all of this stuff. But I have to keep reminding myself that if I'm making a character, I wouldn't have done that, because I don't know. I don't know how big the sword is going to be. I don't know how it's going to fit in her hands, especially when it comes to like fingers and stuff, right? I don't draw fingers until I have my, especially if they're supposed to be holding on to something. I don't make my hand finalized or make a rough draft of my hand until I've actually made this sword. Once this sword has been made, then I will put fingers over top of it and stuff like that. All right. So let's blink this off real quick. Yeah, I mean, such simple clothes, really. It's her jacket is probably at this point in time the most intricate thing. I would say her belt is slightly intricate, but not that bad. And her shoes. Her shoes are the most intricate, and then her weapon sheath back here is also intricate. But really not a lot of things are you know, it's not damn, I lost my train of thought. I seen a message on my phone. None of this really is taking like a lot of brain power to like come up with. I would say these bolts and how this sleeve was constructed is a little challenging, I guess is the best word to say. A little challenging to think of. This was definitely challenging to think of. I find this a challenge to think of. This chest piece here, that's a challenge. Belt not so bad because there's examples of this in real life. It's just a simple clip belt, so you could actually look at something, a real life instance of this object existing. So that's not difficult at all. The little belt thing, it's pretty simple to come up with. If you want extra straps, you're going to find a way to attach a strap. Again, same concept here. This design right here on her leg, I would say whatever on that. It clearly is some flair. This, however, these shoes took some planning. None of that, I mean, obviously shoes exist in the real life, right? But these shoes, not so much. But these shoes, I am confident, are after the jacket was made, and the reason being is because they mirror the jacket. This strap system over top of the shoes is very much like the strap system over top of her jacket. And so I 100% believe that these shoes were definitely constructed in the same mindset as the jacket was. But yeah, I mean, you're all seeing this in real time. Like this really didn't take much thought process or effort or energy to really to do, aside from these tabs right here, right? Like that's something that definitely is an artistic flair. But yeah, the rest of this seems pretty much obtainable, achievable with a little bit of brain power. Achievable. That's the best thing to say. Achievable. Now, moving on to her undershirt. This really doesn't require too much of a different layer or anything like that. Let's see what layers we have going on here. Of course, I haven't labeled any of my layers, so that's a hair layer. That's a hair layer. That's the jacket layer. Sleeves. Sleeve greeblies. I'm gonna call them sleeve greeblies. And then undershirt, if we're gonna just work our way down, yeah, that's gonna be on a separate layer. And we'll go ahead and just use a dark blue. It's fine. And of course this shirt is skin tight. So we would just follow our this is actually real simple. I wouldn't even need the reference here. Except for, of course, knowing how far down I need to go. That's about it right there. So all I would need to do is just follow this and then draw a line, and there you go. Right? That's I mean that's as simple as it gets, ladies and gentlemen. That is as simple as it gets. Just draw a line that goes with the perspective. I already have a perspective line right here. So long as my curve follows that perspective line, we go back to the original ambi. I mean, we're close. This does not matter at all. This does not matter at all. We can draw this line as crazy and funky. Not really, but I'm just saying we can just draw this line as lazy as possible. It does not need to match up. There you go. Go back close enough. So there are some things that are just overly simple. We'll just erase it right off from the rip, because we know that this is on top of that. Don't need to care. Is there any wrinkles? I don't think I see any wrinkles. Let's get the opacity up a little bit. No. So the artist did not draw any wrinkles on the shirt. Okay. Cool. Fuck it, right? Fuck it. We don't need no damn wrinkles. Now, granted, future reference, I probably would have drew a wrinkle there. Maybe a wrinkle or so. Coming up over there, something like that, you know. But you know, these characters are pretty simple as far as like there's not a whole lot of wrinkling going on. This is something I'm noticing, right? I mean, there's just no wrinkles at all. Like Ambi's clothes are fucking ironed out, man. They are ironed out. All right. Sorry about that. I had a phone call. I had to take that phone call. I traded in some motorcycles and got a new bike and just some jargon there, so to speak. Some jargon there. All right. So now, we want to work on. So that was a separate layer for that. Next thing we want to do is the belt, and there is a couple of sections, of course, on this belt too. You know, these straps here are going to be on their own layer. The main belt line is its own layer, and then the belt buckle itself is on its own layer. And then this strap system, this whole thing could be on its own layer for how simple it is. It doesn't really require multiple layers. You could if you really wanted to, but you don't have to. You can make this whole belt on its own layer, but it does need to be on a separate layer though. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and of course her her thong straps. Her thong straps can also be on any of these layers. Probably the best one to put it on would be when we're doing these straps here. So whatever layer we do these belt loops on is probably when we're going to be doing her thong straps. So there you go. So this belt has 4 layers to it. All right, did we make a new layer? No, that's that. So new layer. We're going to use orange. And let's get the, and when you work with belts, you do want to do the main belt strap first. Absolutely. I'm also noticing here, I need to boost up this opacity. I'm noticing something. So we have the skirt. The skirt is actually part of these loops here. Because this ridge that you see up here, let me zoom in. This ridge that you see right here just above the belt is the skirt. So her skirt has built-in loops. Now, knowing this information, I bet the belt was made first, and then they knew they were going to do this with her skirt, so they simply drew the skirt above the belt and then went out and did the skirt. I guarantee that's how it was done. So that being said, that makes the belt a lot simpler to work with, really does, because I said there was 1, 2, 3, 4 layers. Well, actually, that doesn't exist. So there's only 3 layers to this belt instead of 4. So they decided to come all the way out here with the belt. And if we look where her actual hip is, right? And right here's her hip. That's pretty far out there for a belt. And this belt is not thick by any means, because if we go over here to this side, it hugs her hip a lot on this side, of which, of course, if we continue this line, it actually kind of bites into her leg, which is incorrect. So, yes, we're going to draw it exactly how it's shown, but to teach you all what I would actually do is, remember, there's a little bit of space. All clothing must have a little bit above the skin. And, of course, the belt is no exception. And since we already know that there is cloth underneath this belt because of this skirt, we are going to lift it off a little bit, and we're going to lift it off a little bit more. So right about this second dot right here, I'm going to draw a line. Right? Now, her hip is going in this direction, so I would follow this hip as best as possible. And then go all the way across until I come off the other side. zoom on in here. Okay. Do a little erase work. And then I would go back up, but I would be matching these curves. See how her thigh does one of these, right? Okay, well, the belt would interact in the same way. So you'd have the belt kind of doing one of these numbers. And then you would draw your other line. Just depends on how thick you want the belt, right? See if I can get my lines. See if I can get my lines right today. Drawing a fairly large line like this kind of has its issues, but needless to say, you'll eventually get it. And then we can erase things that don't matter anymore. And in my personal opinion, this is kind of more so what her belt should be doing. It should be hugging and providing support, right? I don't think coming this far off, I think that's a little too far. This over here, this part of the belt, we could maybe go a little smaller, but not by much. There we go. That looks good. I think that belt looks pretty damn good. Her waist isn't doing anything crazy or special, so a straight line belt is just fine, and that is of course what the artist has done as well. I'm just showing you what my perspective would be, which is if this belt is doing nothing else, there's no other attachments to it, whatever, then we just need a straight line like this and make sure we have enough space where it's actually hugging her skin and not getting buried into it or going too far out forward. Now, you could say, well, what about this this giant fucking sword sheath back here? I don't know how the fuck it's attached. Do you know how it's attached? I don't know how it's attached. And clearly, the artist, I think even in the video game, let's see here. Let's actually bring up an example. Like, I want to see how, let's see here, Andy, Z. Let's see if we can bring up like a rear view, a rear view image, or something that gives us more detail, an idea of how this thing would be attached. Oh, maybe this would work. Now that doesn't even tell me. That's a good rear view rear view image. Oh, is this a good one? Not really. And plus, this version of Amy does not have her backpack either. So there's that. I'm looking right now for images. I don't think anybody has drawn an attachment point for her massive sword sheath. Let me do AmiZZ in-game. Looking. Damn it, Google, don't make me bring up the game. Don't make me bring up this game. Actually, we probably could go to my YouTube real quick here. Let's see, let me go to my YouTube and look up my video, because obviously one of the first videos I've ever made of Endless Zone Zero. Clearly, I'm going to be using Ambi. So I'm going right now. Videos. Yeah, here we go. I'm watching like one of the beginning cinematics because Ambi is in the cinematic. And I'm gonna take a screenshot when I see the part that okay. So I'm gonna take a couple screenshots here, and we're gonna dissect this a little bit. Come on. I'm thinking. Okay, so we got one screenshot here. One screenshot here. Hopefully I'll zoom in on this character. I'm sure I will. This is actually a really good screenshot here. I'm sure none of you are going to have complaints about this either when I show you the screenshots. Come on. Be a smart player. Do it. Do it. Right there. Oh! I bet you I figured it out. I bet you I freaking figured it out. Okay, so. Let's open a whole new file here. Not open a whole file. File new. Okay. File. Import image. What did I take? 4 screenshots? Let's take a look. Yeah. So here's the first screenshot. File, import, image. From here. I know it's a little blurry, but work with me. File, import, image. I don't think it was this one where I discovered it, but it's going to be very close. And we'll get in closer, of course. We'll get in closer. Import. This is the image that I believe I figured it out. Okay. So if we look at the details as best as possible here, there is nothing. There is a clip back here. I'm going to draw as best as possible. Use red. Make a separate layer. This right here, that is on her belt. Okay. So that right there is, let me zoom in for everybody because I have no idea how freaking close this is or whatever. But yeah, that right there is most certainly on her belt. There is nothing else here that's like, oh, this is a strap or anything like that. This is the front of her, of course, which we see this strap right here, right? And it kind of curls up and around, right? Maybe that's just giving you a hint. And then this is a side profile. And as you see, the belt, because this is Ambi's back, right here. All right, well, the belt stops right about there. Okay, it doesn't even touch. It's not even close to this. However, there is this right here. I don't know what that precisely is at this point in time, what this metal piece here is, but her belt is right there. So we know that it's not attached to the belt in this regard. However, the last piece here, we have the strap that goes from that front to the back. And now, as far as this sheath is concerned, it is separate. It's completely separate. I thought for sure that this strap right here was going to be the attachment point, which of course wouldn't make a whole lot of sense because you'd need another strap, equal strap, to be strapped on the back here, so that way it'd be in position, you couldn't do this. You couldn't make this sheath hang onto one strap. It's impossible. But I was hoping that this was something was attaching to the sheath. So at this point in time, as far as video game logic and any illustration of Ambi and anything that I've found, there is no attachment point for this sword sheath. So therefore, I am correct in my assumption on how this belt probably should hug Ambi. It should be more skin tight. It should be skin tight. It shouldn't be all the way out here per se. I think that's too far. And then of course it doesn't go far enough on this side. It actually goes down, which doesn't make sense because we got her skin right there. So it needs to be off of her skin just a little bit, as I drew right there. I'm just saying this as an artist who noticed these things and have the time to really dissect these characters. Or of course, namely Ambi. I'm just tearing Ambi apart. Tearing this girl apart. But needless to say though, that's how I would make my belt. I would not actually draw it the way that the Hoyoverse artist drew it, because it doesn't make much sense per se. It's close. I have no arguments about it. It's a wonderful belt. Obviously, most people aren't going to pay attention to it the way that I am. It is what it is. So, but my major thing here, my major gripe, the reason why I wanted to really get deep into this belt is because, you know, why did the artist pick to go all the way out here for this belt? And the only thing that made sense to me is, well, the reason why you do that is because something is hanging off of it and dragging it this way, causing a major space, a major gap. That's not even your skin. Here's your skin right here. Like, that's a major gap in this belt. And to me, I'd be like, okay, well, if this thing right here is attached to it, well, that makes sense. That makes sense all day. But now learning that it's not attached, well, then this belt needs to be a little bit more skin tight. There you go. There you go. Take it as you will. There you go. Either way, though, we're going to draw it exactly as the artist did, because, again, I'm just trying to learn what they're doing, why they do what they do. Some people don't have, I don't want to call it the ability, because everyone has the ability. Some people just don't think about it, like I do. Some people just think, well, it is what it is. And as far as this belt is concerned, because obviously this is where the line of that belt is. Yeah. That should be fine. I'm going to boost up the opacity just a little bit because it's a little hard to tell where that line work is. Oops. There we go. Like I said, they would have ignored that buckle because you wouldn't design a buckle right off the rip. That buckle is most certainly on its own layer. And this doesn't make sense why this belt digs into her skin. Now granted, I drew this base model. I don't know where her... So they're basically saying that her thigh goes in a little bit and then comes out like this. It's possible. Let me do this real quick. So that's how I have the line, her thigh right now, right? But after drawing this belt, it digs into her skin, which would then tell me that it actually is kind of like this, maybe? Which is technically correct. That dip would be correct there. Yeah. Learn something new. Dip it, baby, dip it. Yeah. Yeah, it definitely dips right there. So her base model actually dips. Dips, baby, dip. Which I guess is a little bit more sexy because you have this essential love handle area, right? So this would dip right about there too. A dip. And I think I actually did that here. Yeah, I already kind of did that with this one because I know that the thighs will stick out a little further from the body. So I've already kind of did this. I didn't do it when I was doing this because I can't see it, right? I can't see this shit. The clothes are in the way. I didn't make the base model for this. Didn't know if you knew that or not, but I did not make the base model for Andy. Either way, though, we're just gonna keep going on. Alright, so that's the line for the belt. New layer. And then we're gonna draw with green, maybe? And dark purple. Yeah, dark purple. And at this point, since I know that the skirt is its own thing, I'm not gonna even worry about those. We are just gonna be doing the belt buckle now. An interesting belt buckle. Okay. That's about it. I'm gonna increase the opacity just to verify that there isn't any more line work that I might have missed. The rest of that just looks like shadows and stuff. This belt buckle is strange. Woo! Not what I wanted to do. Not what I wanted to do. No, that's part of the belt buckle. Very weird. I mean, I wouldn't have drawn that. I would have just kept up with the same design. Right? I mean, why isn't that design there? And in fact, actually, I even drew it wrong from that. Hold on. If we want to be real technical, if I like this part here, I would just went edit, copy, edit, paste, and then just flipped it upside down. And then put it where I wanted it. Golly. Alright, hold on. Hold the phone. Boop. Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. I mean... what? Why am I noticing all of these weird things with this character? So let's redraw this whole buckle, man. Like, what the crap? What's going on? Because in the reality of things, and we'll bring up the thing. I'm just a little disappointed because we should be doing the same thing throughout the unity of this. Yeah. I mean, I'm just fucking around at this point in time, but it's just like none of this, like it just simply doesn't make sense. As far as the buckle goes, it's a little big. Need to merge these layers. Merge. Because essentially the belt. Okay. Let me draw it how I would draw it. Okay, because this is probably going to be confusing some people. All right. Let's get rid of Ambi and just look at this line the way that it is. Okay, make a new layer. I'm going to do this. All right, so I want to draw a belt buckle, right? I have my belt, and I want to draw a clipper style belt buckle. So first things first. Okay. Boy, this is gonna be some fun. All right, first things first. I clearly know that my belt is this way and my belt is this way. Let's draw this a little, and of course the middle of my stomach is about right there, so about here to right about there. Okay. We'll go ahead and come off a little bit. Right? No, come off a little bit, come off a little bit. There we go. And of course we have a release button right around here somewhere. And you know, you double pinch these. So you essentially have a symmetrical line on the other side, and it'll hug the belt. And then really we could do all sorts of designs, but let's just keep it simple. Let's do a bit higher. All right. And then as far as the actual connection points are concerned, I mean, we could do a myriad of things, right? I mean, you know, again, it's just one of those things where, like, let's get this right. So we're going to save both of these, right? So this is the one that I made. There's the one I made. There's Hoyoverses. I will say I like the chonk on it. I do like the chonkiness on Hoyoverse's belt buckle. It's just weird. It's just weird. And of course, the simplicity of it matches up perfectly with everything else about Ambi because everything else is simple. So if I were to draw this again, right? give me another chance, everybody. I'm gonna try it again. So if I were to draw this again, I want it that big or no? Maybe. There's belt buckle 2.0. There you go. I mean, yeah. I think it'd fit just fine. It's just strange that they like slimmed this bottom portion here. It is what it is, right? It is what it is. But I am learning lessons here. You could be like, well, what lesson did you learn? Keep it simpler. I went too complex with this. That's not how Hoyoverse makes their characters. I need to keep it simple. So I have learned a valuable lesson on simplicity, and that I will achieve artistic greatness through simplistic means. That is the lesson of the day. Artistic greatness through simplistic means. Alright, delete that. Let's go ahead and redraw. I am going to increase the opacity though, because I need to see this better. Such a strange design. So strange. I mean, it's not like I'm making this shape up either. It is literally how it is drawn on here. Like, no one can be mad at me for like, oh, you're not doing Ambi's clothes justice. You know, you need to be drawing it exactly the way that it's made. Kind of am. Yeah, my lines might not be perfect, but it doesn't matter. Like I said, a lot of this is a how would they have done it? How did they do it? Not so much as getting everything exact. It's how did they come up with this process? And so far, this is it. Now, knowing that the skirt is attached via these straps here, right? Okay. So now the question is, was this this right here, this metal piece is not connected to this strap, as we can tell. So therefore it tells me that either this strap is some weird quasi afterthought of both the belt and Ambi's skirt, or they did make it with the belt and they made an attachment point here, right, on the belt itself, and then Ambi's skirt is still separate. I'm gonna go with it was part of the belt. It legitimately could be any of those things. It could be any of it or all of it. Ugh. Ambi. We're dissecting the shit out of you, girl. But, I mean, as far as what we've gotten, you know, we've done pretty good. Let's see here. How long have we been on the stream, man? How long have we been doing the things? Let's see. We've been up for 2 hours and 20 minutes. You know what? I think this is a good time to stop. Wife is home. I'm gonna spend some time with the wife, and it just smells like she's cooking dinner, so... And hopefully, maybe my wife is awesome and help me out with my shoulder and get this thing corrected, because I am in an excruciating amount of pain. But needless to say, we're getting along, right? We are creating Ambi from Zenless Zone Zero. We're learning more things about the artist and how they did things. We're learning more about keep it simple, stupid. Do your clothing in layers. The hair is done in layers. Layers. Layers are very important. Keeping it simple is important, and truly at this point in time, that's really all it is. And so with that being said, hopefully anybody that came in and viewed the stream today, you enjoyed your time here. Really do appreciate you. And anybody who views this on YouTube later, please do like, comment, subscribe. Let me know how we're doing. Are we getting it? Am I helping you out? Are you learning a thing or two as well? Let me know in the comments below. And this is your host, Samurai Kit Kat, and I might see you later today, but I'll see you sometime soon. See you!